Welcome everybody to your roadmap to a better future and a preview of the immersion experience of Silva Life and Intuition System. My name, I'm sure you guessed, is Ken Coscia. It's my pleasure to be here with you, to be your guide, your host. I serve as Silva's lead instructor and training director. Gosh, I started 1971. I'm in my 51st year. Hard to believe. So welcome aboard, everybody. I'm so glad you're here. I appreciate your interest, your time. Time is so precious for everybody. I know we've all got so much on our plates to do. I intend to make this well worth your time, so be sure to stay right to the end. There'll be some short exercises. We only have 90 minutes, and I'm used to having 4 full days, but we'll be able to cover a lot of good ground as we go. So let me just acknowledge you for being here, for caring enough about yourself to take this time to learn something more and allowing me this opportunity to teach you some tools that could be really cool and very helpful. So many of you are Silva Method graduates. You've been through the training recently or decades ago and everything in between. So for you, this could serve as a good review, reinforcement, some support, which is so important, reminder to you of what's available. And many of you are also new to the Silva Method, or at least maybe new to myself. So this can serve as, give you a chance to get some insight, some knowledge. There'll be definite takeaways for you. This by itself will stand by itself. And of course, I sincerely hope that you decide to participate in an immersion experience with me. It's one of the greatest transformational tools, I believe, on the planet, or I wouldn't still be here 51 years later. However, that's up to you. So here we are on the road to a better future. And man, oh man, woman, oh woman, it's really, I know, we all know this, and you've got the list, it's crazy out there. And it seems like there's so many fronts that people are angry about, upset, complaining. I understand with that. And it's put us all into an almost hypervigilant state with constant reminders about warnings and threats and who's for this and who's for that and who says don't do this. And I'm not going to mention specifics, but you know what I mean. Some scientists say this is okay. Some scientists say, no, this isn't. Whoa, is that a point? Who do you believe? And what do you do? And I don't mean to make light of it, because it's really a dangerous place to be. There's too much fear-based thinking on the planet, not just in our local communities. There's way too much anxiety and feelings of anxiety. And many of us, even people who use the tools and, in pretty good shape, find for no apparent reason, just having these pangs of anxiety, anxiousness, and like, when will the next, shoe drop? So tonight, it is my intention to give you some tools. I can't make all that go away, and you know that. But the intention is no victims here. It's almost a cool thing, victimhood, nowadays. We have a choice, and it's easier to make choices, and it's easier to navigate the chaos. It's easier to navigate the mess with grace and ease when you have tools you can count on. And that's why we're here tonight, to give you some of those tools, to introduce you to some tools, and that you can make a more intelligent decision. How much farther you want to take it, with respect to that. So this is really, to me, in my heart, about taking command of our lives. And it's really an inside game. And what I want to invite you and encourage you and remind you is to have a growth mindset, regardless of how much you know or don't know. Whether you're new in this field or you've been studying for decades like myself, there's always something more to learn. And what I would highly recommend is to be careful that if we find ourselves going into any situation with the know-it-all attitude, that closes the doors of any possibility of learning something more, making a new connection. So I'm thrilled that you're allowing me this opportunity, because that speaks volumes to your openness for that. I don't know that I'm going to be able to say anything new. Is there really anything new? But perhaps a different approach. And some of it will even be common sense. And just because it's common sense doesn't mean it's common practice. And you know what I mean, and you know who you are with that. So I do these kinds of things for our community frequently. Support. I just finished couple of weeks of coaching. I just finished an immersion, was it in August, middle of August, end of August actually. And then we just did a group meeting for that. It's so important and so necessary, especially nowadays. So here we are on this road to a better future and creating it, and look at the tools. So you know as well as I do that in life, it happens, the big S. Now, I've got you on mute, but you can say it out loud, and I'll just simply be more polite and say, stuff happens. And some of this stuff, no matter how much we pray, no matter how much we practice, no matter how much we know, some of it's way beyond our individual control, correct? And some of it is within our control. And the one thing that's within our control is our perspective, our attitude, our frame of mind. And yes, it has an effect. Our words that we use when we speak and our thoughts make a dramatic difference. So these life events, some of them controlled, hey, you like this high-tech background? Of course, I'd rather do this. I don't like doing the screen shares because then you lose it. And in fact, usually I have everybody on the screen, but with 200 plus people registered, they're not going to fit on the screen, even 100, then you're itty bitty. So this is more of a presentation for you. So these life events, the point of view we have, the value we place on what happens is the sole determinant of whether it becomes a catastrophe, a terrible crisis that we lose everything and we freak out and get headaches and have sleepless nights and lose our business and fight and scream, or whether it becomes an opportunity to grow and to learn. It doesn't make it easier, and it's not easy. So those of you who know me and know my work, maybe that's why I'm still going strong 51 years later. I'm a very conservative presenter. I only talk about and share and teach what works, where there's evidence, where we have results. I don't believe in speculating. Your time is too valuable for that. And I don't believe in exaggerating either. So there's no such thing as a quick fix. And I'm sure you realize that, even though we're being seduced constantly by marketing people. How easy. Yeah, right. But it can be easier when we have the tools. So the first step is we've got to recognize that our point of view is the point of power. In psychology, it's called the point of power. It is the sole determinant of what happens. Why? So the value we place on something, the way we look at it, the perspective we have about life. So for example, that perspective, we're talking about affecting our mindset, our attitude. And if our attitude becomes one of pessimism, oh God, why bother? You can't, my mother used to say this, you can't fight City Hall. And when people start feeling helpless and hopeless, that is the precursor, by the way, therapeutically speaking, to depression. It's a very dangerous place to be in. It's not fun. And it's not surprising to me that today it's becoming increasing for people to feel that way, because we feel like we're being used. We feel like we're being lied to. We don't know who to trust. It's like, where do you turn? There's on so many different fronts. And actually, I think that's a good thing. Things are breaking down because there's much needed reform. So I hope, I sincerely hope, I pray that action is taken to put into place the needed reforms on just about every front. Again, you have the list. I don't want to take up our precious time going through it because it's kind of depressing if we focus on it, isn't it? So there's a saying, if you lose hope, you lose everything. And perhaps you've heard that before. So when we start to have a pessimistic attitude, when we start feeling indifferent, excuse me, we start giving up, like, why bother? We don't make an effort. Been there, done that. Who cares? Nothing's going to happen. Dangerous place to be, my friends. There's always hope. May not be easy. Are you willing, though, to pay the price to do what it takes for that? So when there's hope or faith that somehow, some way we can figure this out, Notice the difference. We may not know what to do. We may not have the answers, but it's very important to have at least that faith that somehow, some way we'll figure this out. And when you have that, try it as an exercise and start thinking like that. You'll find you'll be more open to ideas. Because when we're under a high stress environment, constantly, chronic stress, it debilitates our immune system and our body. It interferes with cognitive function, and it's almost impossible for your best self to emerge. And under those conditions, we're more likely to what? Make mistakes, have accidents, get sick, sleepless nights, the list goes on. It's a leading cause of illness today. And that's not a theory anymore. That is a fact, very well documented. So our attitude, our mindset affects the results because it affects whether we take action or not, what we do or don't do, what steps we take. So it's not just enough to have the mindset, as you know, you've got to take action, you got to do something, you got to do the work. For you Silva Method practitioners, or maybe you're a meditator or you use other tools, when you use it, it works. So it's key that we're actually using it. And that's also why, again, support is so necessary and helpful, because it kind of keeps us in the game. It keeps us, that reminder. Because the way we're wired in the brain, it's actually easier to be negative. Because the way we're wired for number one priority, survival, excuse me, number two, security. And under those conditions, we're kind of wired to look for problems. And the danger right now is that there's a state of being within some people that is, again, helpless, hopeless, precursor to depression, or their cortisol levels, their stress hormones are flooding their body. And when that happens, we go into overwhelm. And when we go into overwhelm mode, we cannot think. Agreed? Again, I know you know this, but it's important that you recognize that. So one quick thing I would say is, let's take a look then. Let's dive in here. And over these years, it's been my joy. I love doing this work, by the way, and I love you for allowing me this opportunity to share with you. And I really miss the in-person events, which I'm intending 2022 we'll be able to get back to safely, comfortably, and there won't be mandates or whatever. As you know, I live here in Connecticut, and we still have strict controls for that. And even on the Zoom, they've worked out really good, I'm happy to say. And usually when I'm doing a class, I limit the size of the group so everybody's on the screen with me, 29 people. So you get my undivided attention, which is so important because this is about inner transformation. So the long story short, gals, guys, is that I've identified 4 what I believe to be necessary skills to have in your toolbox, to help you take command of your life, to help you navigate with more grace, more ease, and create a better future. So number 1, and you can guess where I'm going with this because I've already kind of brought it up, is you got to manage your energy. So the number 1 skill is manage your energy. We've got to deal with the stressors and be very careful, be very mindful about that. So some of the things is, although I agree and understand, there's lots to complain about and even be angry about. You have to ask yourself, though, have we become addicted to our anger and our upset? Because if we're in constant upset mode, if you're in constant upset mode and always complaining, what you're doing is, you don't realize it, you're mentally rehearsing what you don't want. You're giving energy to what you don't want. It's one of the first principles in understanding the interaction, the mind-body connection. Whatever you give attention to, you give energy to. And whatever you give energy to will grow and multiply. So yes, we do need to acknowledge there's something wrong here. This is a problem. This is unacceptable. But once we do that, we got to stop complaining. I mean, dare I bring up a political scene here in the US? Actually, it's like that all over the world. It's become all about blaming, right? Pointing the finger and complaining and blocking, and nothing gets done. It's the same old, no matter who's in office. We haven't had real, true reform with that. The same thing happens with us in our lives. So give you an example. What I would recommend is some quick tips. I want to go through some tips, takeaways. So take some notes or watch the replay. First thing in the morning, what do you do when you get up? Other than you go to the bathroom, relieve yourself. Hopefully you drink some water. Very important. Leading cause of fatigue is dehydration. Leading cause of excessive cravings is dehydration. Leading cause of cramps in the body, dehydration. And when you've been sleeping 6, 7, 8 hours or more, you need some fluids immediately. Second, do you put on the news, take out a newspaper, or go on your phone, look at emails, social media? Sometimes social media is full of complaints. I urge you, stop. Own your morning. First thing in the morning, at least the first 30 minutes, stay away from stuff like that. Why? If we look at the science of it, the science piece with the brain, you've been sleeping and your brain has altered from where we are now, awake, what's called the conscious mode of communication, what in brainwave studies, beta, our waking state, and we're just coming out of our sleep state, a highly suggestible state, where young children are prior to puberty, where they learn faster and easier. You're in an alpha theta, just coming out of that primarily. So the worst thing you could do in this first 30 minutes is put on the news, because it has a predisposition to what's wrong in the world, let alone looking at your phone. And then you've got that, everyone else's emergencies when you've got to take care of yourself. My friends, if we are not taking care of ourselves, how can we take care of our family? How can we be there for our grandchildren, for our clients, or people counting on us? You only have so much. It's very important that we have self-care. And that's a proven strategy if you're not doing that already. Same thing at night before you go to bed, no screen time, about an hour before bed. Don't check your emails, because then you're going to have it in your head. Oh God, I got to do this, I got to do that. And then you'll be tossing and turning during the night. You hear what I'm saying? There's a time. Manage your time. That's one takeaway. The other is worrying. Yes, acknowledge a problem. Okay, this is not acceptable. Something's wrong here. I'm with you. But then, does worry solve the problem? Worry is like a rocking chair. It's like complaining. It gives you something to do, but it doesn't get us anywhere. But if you were to ever look at the brain scans of the brain on anger or worry, it's a terrible picture. It's debilitating. It doesn't allow for proper brain function. I'm just going to keep it real simple. And it literally will make things worse, because the stress hormones will increase and you run the risk of it flooding the body, becoming toxic. And when that happens, you weaken your immune system. The immune system is your first line of defense to prevent and protect you from any virus, from any illness. It's the leading cause of headaches, even migraines, the leading cause of insomnia, the leading cause of most diseases, because our body is built to last. And when it's balanced, when it's in homeostasis balance, we live a better quality of life. So a lot of these tips are about getting into balance. And that's what I mean by, again, managing your energy. Very important that you manage your energy, those stressors. With that. So here's a quick tool that we teach in the Silva class. It's 4 days. And I would just say this to you. There's a lot of confusion, unfortunately, thanks to some marketing people out there. Mr. Silva spent 22 years researching and developed 4 days, 4 solid days of training. And he developed a very precise proprietary process, a step-by-step that's proven. And then for over 55 years, we've been in 100+ countries all over teaching it. It works. So we know the 4 days is the ideal works. Not 3 days, not 2 days, not 1 day, not 12 hours of pre-recorded videos. Because all of our time is spent, well, not all, excuse me, from 30 to 60%, depending what day we're in, practicing with dynamic meditations, which brings it to life, which helps us to integrate it. So, my friends, this is not meant to be an intellectual process. It's meant to be a transformative. So you get the knowledge, the information, and then we have to integrate it. So what you want to watch out for is self-doubt and worry. So here's what's called in psychology a pattern interrupter. If you're not familiar with this, when I say it, it's going to sound odd, to say the least. Unusual. Let's just say it that way. if you have a negative or worrisome thought and you've acknowledged there's a difficulty, if it's something you're feeling, you're acknowledging your feelings, what you're feeling, very important, so that you then don't ruminate on it, so that you then don't worry excessively and make it worse. You got to interrupt that pattern. It's a learned pattern. It's been conditioned. And Mr. Silva developed this many decades ago. You ready? Silva grads, you know what it is? Cancel, cancel. Say it out loud. Cancel, cancel. It's bizarre sound. Who talks like that? Cancel, cancel. You know, it's like a husband and wife having a heated discussion. Oh, cancel, cancel. You're being negative. No, no, cancel, cancel you. It's meant to be internalized. But it's a big red flag. That's why it works. It's so bizarre. It's so unusual. We don't talk like that. That's why it's called a pattern interrupter. It brings us awareness. Self-awareness is one of the fundamentals for psychological health and well-being. So one of the first steps is to be more self-aware about how we think, how we process, what the triggers are, who are the people who trigger us, what are the situations in our life that trigger us. And if we're allowing that to happen and we don't develop the awareness to it and the skill set to deal with it, we become victimized. And it's like people are pushing our buttons, but it's really us pushing them, allowing that to happen. So cancel, cancel, and then you reframe it with a more positive thought. So if you start thinking, oh my God, how am I ever going to get this done? Cancel, cancel. I'll figure it out. I'm going to study. I'm going to ask for help. I'm going to do whatever it takes. You get the idea? That's one. Other things to look at. So what, let me just put up on the screen. Pattern interrupter. Another one. And I saved so they're called renewals in the field of emotional intelligence. Walking in nature, beach, woods, treed area, very, very helpful. Playing with your dog or your cat, playing with a child, very helpful. Good socialization, interaction, good interactive conversation are ways to renew ourselves. Very important. Maybe taking a warm bath, a therapeutic massage. Fit things like this that you resonate with into your life. They're important. Going for that walk. It would be great if you could make it a point to walk at least 10, 15 minutes every day. For me, no matter where I am, 30 minutes a day, even in the rain, even in the snow. Sometimes the snow's kind of fun, unless it's a blizzard, then I'll go on the treadmill. But it's so important for the body, for our health. It's a way to release the distress and prevent it from becoming overwhelming and toxic. Drinking lots of water. Again, these are some of the things, because if our lives are filled with stress, we can't possibly be at our best. Best to last is, you know how everybody says, breathe through it? Well, I know, common sense, you've heard this before. Let me just move this a slight bit. And you've heard this before, absolutely, but it works. Are you doing it? So what I want to just demonstrate, we'll do a little exercise together. I'm going to work in as many as I can with you. And this is something, because there's a lot to cover, so I know I'm moving quick. Come back and review it. And you'll remember, then you want to practice more on your own. So as long as you're not driving now, and as long as you are in a safe place to do this, duh, I know. It's easiest to do it with your eyelids closed. Because when you close your eyes, of information that comes into the brain from the environment, about 86% is through sight. So automatically when we close our eyes, that's why when you sleep at night, especially if you have trouble sleeping, sleep in as dark a room as possible, as quiet a room as possible, as comfortable a room as possible. Because if there's anything going on in the room that's input to the brain and it activates our brain function, it can interfere with the quality of sleep. It's another takeaway for you. Simple tip, strategies. So the eyelids close. And what we're going to do in the exercise is I'll ask you to take 3 very slow, deep cleansing breaths. In the Silva program, we spend 4 full days practicing this, developing all sorts of skills and tools around it. And we spend, we do 30-minute guided meditations all throughout the class to help people prevent. And I'm there guiding you step by step. Hey, how'd that go? How'd that go? And improving it. So forgive me. This is a preview, but I'm simplifying it in a way that So if you have tools and you know, like the 3-to-1 method, Silva people use it. Eyelids closed, inhale through your nose very slowly, filling your body, filling your belly, holding it briefly, just a second or two, and then exhale out your mouth like you're blowing out a candle. I mean, really exhale, just let it out. So you could imagine you're breathing in peace and energy and exhaling the junk, the stuff. 3 times does the trick. Breathing like that, slow, deep belly breathing, is a natural antidote to distress. Slow, deep belly breathing can activate brain chemistry and cause more dopamine, more serotonin, the good stuff, to go through your body, and we feel good. It helps. It's a way to reduce, minimize, and even at times eliminate pain. So do that 3 times. Then what I'll ask you to do is, well, since I'm here guiding you, I'll ask you that I'm going to count from 1 to 3. And at the count of 3, I will close this out my fingers and ask you to imagine, to mentally project yourself as if you were at your ideal place of relaxation. Or write that down. I'm sorry, I don't have it here. Ideal place of relaxation. It is best not to make one up, like, wow, this is a. It's best to use, especially in the beginning, one where you've been. So if you like walking on the beach, that's good for you. If you like being on a riverbank, that's great for you. If you like soaking in the tub, something that you've done before, you have a history with, because at a cellular level, you have memories of it. And when you think about it, it will activate, it will trigger and release those same feelings. It's a common strategy, a great, fantastic takeaway you can do on the telephone while driving in traffic without closing your eyes. Just think of that ideal place. Maybe you're in a heated discussion. You can just pause, breathe slowly, deeply while you're talking. So you close your eyes to kind of center yourself, to balance, because then you allow yourself to more deeply relax. But you hear what I'm saying? These are ways to adapt it. And then you'll hear me say, I will then stop talking to you. When you next hear my voice, it will be as if 1 hour of time has elapsed at this level of mind. My voice will not startle you. You'll allow a deep breath. So when you're doing this on your own, I won't be there to count. You can count to yourself or just do it. Then your intention. What's your intention? What would your best self, if your best self was emerging, let's do this tonight. If your best self was emerging, what would it look like? How would you feel? What would you be able to do as a result? What would your life be like tomorrow, next month, next year, in the years to come? And just play with that. Again, whatever you give attention to, you give energy to. And whatever you give energy to will grow and multiply. The science behind that is, when you're in a relaxed, quiet state, the purpose of meditation is to detach from the conscious mind, the critical gatekeeper, the intellect, and allow us to go into what's called the subconscious in psychology, or typically we do this every day when we go to sleep, or during the day when we're daydreaming. And it's really an art form, isn't it? It's really a skill, because many of you have found when you do this, you have your monkey mind going cuckoo and running. So it takes training, it takes practice, but be patient. You'll get there. If you consistently apply this every day, you'll progressively get better and better as you work with it. So the brain does not distinguish between what you vividly imagine and what you actually experience. Case in point, can you remember ever having a dream that was either exciting or upsetting? And when you woke up from that dream, how did you feel? What was going on in your body? Was your heart pounding? Were you breathing heavy? Were you soaking wet from perspiration? And then for those few brief moments, we're like, wow, what a dream. And then we wake up back into the conscious mind, and body starts normalizing. But it takes a while, doesn't it? You fooled your body. You were just a dream, it's just a thought. It can be a reflection on hopes, desires, or fears, but you weren't actually doing it. You're there lying in bed, maybe hardly moving a muscle. It could be your best friend or your worst enemy. Because even during the day, people have these negative videos going on in their head of their life, of situations. They watch the news and then they kind of play it out. Oh my God, and what about, excessive? I used to be CEO of Warriors Anonymous. Let me tell you, it ain't worth it. Now I'm only a member. And I say I'm a member because I'm not perfect. I'm far from it. Like everybody else, we're in this together, working on that. So remember the cancel using that. And then, so this is something you can do. I'll come back to it later. So at that ideal place, as if you're actually there. So what would you see? What would you feel? What would you hear? So let's do it. I'm assuming, again, if you're driving, some people are listening, the audio, then please just kind of go along with us with your eyes open. I have to say that disclaimer. All right, so let's, real simple one. Allow your eyelids to close. Nice and easy. Take your time. And let's begin with 3 slow, very slow, deep cleansing breaths. And I'd like you now to inhale very slowly through your nose, as long as it's not blocked. And imagine breathing in peace. Keep inhaling, hold it briefly, and then exhale out your mouth. Like you're blowing out a candle, just let it out. Nice, excellent. Now allow another very slow, deep breath. Take your time. Inhaling very slowly. That's it, nice and easy. Breathe in peace and joy. Think of someone you enjoy. Hold it briefly, exhaling out your mouth. It's okay to make noise, just let it go. Now allow another very slow, deep breath. Take your time. Breathe in peace. Exhaling out your mouth. How good it feels to progressively relax deeper and deeper. To enhance this feeling of relaxation, you can just take a moment now, although I didn't mention it before, to think of someone you really like. Someone whom you are grateful is in your life. Or perhaps there's an opportunity available to you. Maybe it's current, that you're grateful is in your life. Or maybe you're enjoying the weather lately and you're grateful for that. Let me just pause for a few moments to give you a chance to just feel some genuine appreciation. Now, to help you relax more deeply, as part of your beginning training, I'm going to count slowly from 1 to 3, cause a sound with my fingers. And at that moment, you may imagine projecting yourself to your ideal place of relaxation as if you are there. I would then stop talking to you for a brief period of time, but when you're next to hear my voice, it will be as if 1 hour of time has elapsed. My voice will not startle you. You relax even more so. I will now count 1, 2, 3. Now project yourself mentally to your ideal place of relaxation until you hear my voice again. Relax. Relax. Allow a very slow, deep breath. And as you exhale, stay awake and aware, relax, and go deeper. You may now take a moment to think of, reflect on, to mentally rehearse your intention. If you like, you can imagine your best self emerging in all that you do tomorrow, next week, next month. You may also want to set as an intention that you will enjoy superior concentration and understanding throughout the presentation tonight, the roadmap to creating a better future, and that you'll hear and experience what you need to enhance the quality of your life. I'll remain quiet for a moment while you reflect on your intention, as if you're there. What do you see? What do you hear? What do you feel? How do you feel as a result of your best self emerging? Relax. How good it feels to progressively relax deeper and deeper. You may now know that when you open your eyelids, you'll be awake and alert. You'll be feeling fantastic, much better than before. When you're ready, you may open your eyelids. In fact, let me count. 1, 2, 3. Eyelids open. Helps sometimes to have a noise. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed that. How simple it can be. Some of you may have started almost falling asleep. What I'd like you to do, I highly recommend, consider adding this every day. The first step is show up and then consistent application. I don't think I'm any better or any wiser or smarter than anybody else. But the one reason why I'm still here 51 years and thriving and doing my thing, I turned 70 in the end of October, is because I'm consistent. I show up. So I absolutely assure you, these, we'll call them transition meditations. In between important events during your day tomorrow, in between important phone calls, in between important meetings, in between important shopping or interaction with a loved one, or coming home from work to be with your family, do a little short transition meditation like that. It's actually a dynamic meditation, which means you're not just sitting passively, you're interacting mentally, you're mentally rehearsing, you're creating visual images. It's a process that Mr. Silva kind of perfected, dynamic meditation. It's part of our brand, if you will, with that. And notice the difference, my friends. It's been a game changer. From time to time, I'm hired by organizations to do 1 day or a few hour trainings. And this is one of the things we teach and work with. And it'll increase your productivity. You'll get more done in less time. You'll feel better. And more importantly, when you're with your family at dinner, you'll be more mindful. You'll be more present with them. The other takeaway here for you that I'd like to share as part of managing your energy is praise more, appreciate, feel gratitude more, complain less. Praise more. And let me give you an example. Full disclosure, one of my triggers is, I love to drive, is driving on the road. And it seems like today, more than I've ever seen on the road, there are more reckless drivers driving 100 miles an hour in the right lane, cutting in and out. In fact, one of my best friends, his dear friend, someone did that and they mistimed it and wound up throwing off the road, and horrible what happened. And I found myself driving saying, cursing, name calling. Oh, where'd you get your license? I'll be nice now. And you know what? The worst thing is they don't hear me. And they keep doing it. And now it's like I'm letting them push my buttons. and I'm upset and my stomach, and you get indigestion and you don't feel good. And then you're kind of like this. And then I come home and I'm not as patient with my family. Well, I learned the lesson, by the way, some time ago. And what I do now instead is, it's going to sound funny, I bless them instead. I still get a little bit ruffled, I admit. I'm far from perfect, but I do my best to say, oh, God bless you. Learn to drive better. And I find that a perception shift. It helps me to manage the distress so I don't, because as long as you're complaining, as long as you're getting angry and you wallow in it, the worse it will get and the worse you feel, you do more damage to you, not to them. That is a significant takeaway. So number 2 skill that's so important. There are 4. First one probably is most important. You have that. It's the very foundation. It's the very basis in any learning situation. So let me say this to you, just to close on that, what I mean. Would you agree when you're stressed, worried, feeling overwhelmed, preoccupied, you're more likely to make mistakes? Me too. You're more likely to forget things. Me too. You're more likely to say something you wish I hadn't said. Me too, because you went into defensive mode. And when you go into defensive mode, we attack, you know. And part of what's going on is you want to create a new state of being in these transition meditations. And if you choose to go through this over class, you're going to develop over 15 different tools to help you sleep better, to manage pain, to eliminate pain, to self-improve, to get up more easily, to not let people push your buttons, to stay relaxed even under pressure, etc., so that you can navigate life more easily with that. So these transition meditations, you know, make that, but you'll also be more productive. You'll get more done in less time, and you'll save a ton of money on unnecessary medical bills. So taking the time like that, taking a training, whether it be Silva or some other training that teaches you to do this and gives you the skill set that you can practice with, is a lot less costly than medicine nowadays and getting into the system, even the copays for that matter. So my friends, key, that's the foundation. And when you're in that state of being, you learn faster, you learn easier, you'll have more innovative ideas, you'll think more creatively, and you more easily access your intuition. And number 2, clarity is needed. When you can manage your energy, diffuse the stressors, keep them at bay with the renewals and all those tips I gave you, you'll think more clearly. And you more clearly know what you want. So what we're talking about here is, yeah, your goals. What are your goals? What are your hopes and desires? Excuse me. Scratched my throat earlier today. You want to have clear, focused vision on what you want. What do you really want? And you want to make sure that what you want is in alignment with your values, who or what's important to you. So important, who or what's important to you, to make sure that they're in alignment. Because if you have dissonance, if they're not in alignment, that's why sometimes you feel like one part of me wants to go this way, but I don't know if I really want that. Another part of me wants to go this way. So that's something that needs to be worked on to gain clarity. And a little exercise you could do is called the what do I want exercise, or what do I want reflection on that. And what I would say to you as a tip here is, throughout all the turmoil, throughout all the chaos, and you know as well as I do that some people don't keep their word. As a young kid growing up, I was taught in Brooklyn, New York, that your word is your bond. One thing nobody can ever take away is your word. And I live by that. I admit, I have zero tolerance when people don't keep their word, or don't do what they said they were going to do, or change an agreement, especially without consulting with you. I have zero tolerance for that. And it happens. It happens to you. It happens to me. And there are people who are disloyal, correct? People who may have stolen from you. It's life events. But we got to protect ourselves to not let their crap become ours. And one way is have a clear life vision. What's important to you? What are you working toward? And when you know what you want, and I'm not talking about day-to-day goals, they're important. Weekly goals, they're important. A game plan for, 5-year game plan. I'm talking about a life vision, the quality of life, the quality of where you want to live, who you want to live with, the things you want to do, what you want to have access to. That life vision is how you have a guided life, how you stay on purpose in your life. Because if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. You've heard that. I don't remember who said it. Some famous influencer way back used to say that. So it's very important that you create your best self, a life vision. I admit to you guys, people have asked me, Ken, how have you managed this? There have been so many instructors in the Silva organization across the globe who've come and gone. And I'm still here. Even some of the Silva family, in and out. Because this life vision that Jose Silva, bless the man, kind of ignited in me, has been my guiding focus. To me, this is more than a course. This is more than our work together. We're in this together. This is about sustaining life on the planet. This is about thriving on the planet. This is about abundance for all. And as long as the crap is out there, ain't going to happen, right? I'm very blessed and fortunate. I know it may be easy for me to say that, but man, I work on it. And it's been a struggle at times. But just think, if you're a little bit more patient, a little bit more compassionate with your family, your friends, your coworkers, won't that make their day a little bit easier? And if their day is a little bit easier, maybe, just maybe, they'll be a little bit more compassionate with their family and friends. You get the idea? It's like that ripple effect in a pond. When you throw a stone and you get those concentric circles. It's essential. That's part of my life vision. I do this because Mr. Silva taught me, he believed we're on this planet to evolve, and that our mission is to awaken all of our faculties, all of our human potential as much as we can, to grow, to thrive, not to suffer while we're here, but to have the best possible life for ourselves and our families. And that's why I so appreciate you. So many of you have graced me with your presence, in the class, in the classes and the trainings. So this exercise is called What Do I Want? Reflection. What do I want? What do I really want? And you can ask questions like, what's going to move the needle for me? What's going to help me get closer to what I want? It helps you then to prioritize these different goals. Let's do a quick little exercise. Again, I know I'm moving quick, but it's a demonstration so that you know better. This is something to do when you're not in a rush and you don't have on the clock like I am tonight. But just to give you a sample, eyelids closed, 3 slow, deep belly breaths, feel some gratitude, appreciation, think of the ideal place, and then ask yourself, what do I want? What do I really want? And follow your first impressions. Avoid second guessing yourself. What do I want? And then when time's up, I'll count again. I'll count to 3 because it's out my fingers and ask you to open your eyes, be awake. So let's just, again, for the purpose of just internalizing it better, it'll help you remember it better, what to do. And again, you can go back and review this. So, let's close, as long as you're safe in a place where you can do that. Now allow a very slow cleansing breath. Breathe in peace. Hold it briefly. Exhale out your mouth. And imagine releasing the stressors, the tensions of the day. Let them go. Allow another very slow, deep breath. Take your time. Breathe in peace. Exhaling out your mouth. Keep exhaling. Just let it go. Imagine releasing that which no longer serves your highest good. Allow another very slow, deep breath. Exhaling, releasing the tensions. How good it feels to progressively relax deeper and deeper. It is a wonderful, healthy state of mind and body. You may now take a few moments to reflect on, feel some gratitude, some appreciation. Who is in your life you're happy is in your life? What opportunities have you experienced recently that you're happy are part of you? It could be even something as simple as a smiling face, someone being courteous and being helpful. I will stop talking for a few moments while you allow yourself to feel this. Excellent. Now, to help you relax more deeply, to center yourself into this state of being of calm and ease and hope, I will count from 1 to 3 and cause a sound with my fingers. And at that moment, you may imagine projecting yourself to your ideal place of relaxation as if you're there. I will now count 1, 2, 3. Project yourself mentally to your ideal place as if you're there. What do you see? What do you hear? And how do you feel? Do this now. Relax. Now, ask yourself, what do I want? What do I really want? Think about an aspiration, a goal, a situation in your life. Just one, just do one at a time. And ask yourself, reflect on, what do I really want? Ask that question a few times. I'll remain silent and follow and trust your first impressions. You will remember. What do you want? Trust your first impressions, first thoughts. You may feel like you're making it up. Just a little longer. You will remember. You will remember these ideas. Now, in a moment, I'll count from 1 to 3, cause a sound with my fingers. And at that moment, you may open your eyelids, be wide awake and alert, feeling fine and in excellent health, feeling much, much better than before. 1, 2, 3. Eyelids open, wide awake and alert, feeling fine and in excellent health, feeling much, much better than before. Welcome back, welcome back. How'd you do? I hope, I can't hear you, but I hope you did great. And know it'll get progressively better. Can you imagine 4 days? It's like going on a retreat. We do the class, by the way, there's many formats that have worked that we've tested. We can do 4 days in a row, one of my favorite ways to do it. It's more demanding. We can do 2 weekends. I'll be doing that upcoming in December, with that class is filling up already, by the way. Then we can do evenings and a weekend. There's a lot of, as long as we follow the step by step with that. And so can you imagine how you would progress if you're responding to these little short and sweet, just a few minute exercises? It gets progressively easier, and it's easier when someone's guiding you. And the attention is, with me guiding you, you're retraining your brain. It's that simple. And then eventually when you're on your own, it's just as easy and you don't need me. That's the intention. It helps though initially to have someone guiding you. So let's take a look at number 3, third skill of the 4. So we talked about manage your energy, deal with the stressors, renew yourself. 2, get clear about what you really want. Know what you want. Make sure your goals are in alignment with your values. And number 3, break the chains of those limiting beliefs. So I'd like you to, if you're writing something down, I'd like you to reframe this, because I know we all talk about limiting beliefs. It's true. A belief is an attitude we have about ourselves, what we think for whatever reason we can do or not do. And isn't it interesting? Our beliefs really affect our physiology. They used to be called placebo effect. Ain't so much the placebo effect. It's the body chemistry changing to match the beliefs. Read Dr. Bruce Lipton, The Biology of Belief. I wish Jose Silva were alive today. So much of what he was criticized about in the early days has been so well documented, if not all of it documented. So relabel it confidence. And I mentioned this before. It's important that you have self-confidence. And you've got to be really careful, because we've all been conditioned, and we have files upon files buried deep in our subconscious. And some of them don't help us, and some of them do help us. So watch out for your self-talk. When you face adversity, when you face a challenge, how do you greet it? How do you think? When you're posed with a challenge or difficulty, are you saying, oh crap, I'll never do this, and you get all crazy and flustered? Pay attention, become self-aware to your self-talk. That inner dialogue makes a difference. And the words you use when speaking to yourself have a significant impact on the brain. No question. And there's tons of studies, science, brain scans showing that. So remember the cancel to deal with the negative self-talk and reframe it. Think of things like, I am enough. I am good enough. I deserve to be happy. Look at yourself in the mirror before you go to bed. I deserve to be happy. I deserve to prosper. I am enough. And if you're doing the best you know how to do, what more can you ask? Sure, have a growth mindset. Sure, get more training, hire a coach, ask for help from a friend, read a book, something that gives you a way to raise the bar and improve your game. So there's confidence to figure things out. So here's a beautiful exercise. In 2007, we had a renaissance. Those of you who know our history, Silva Method, we used to, the core foundation program, what started it all, that's the most copied, most imitated. And for example, if ever you've looked at Mind Valley's sales page on that 12 hours of pre-recorded videos that they offer a program on the Silva Method, all those famous people on the page took the 4-day training, not the 12 hours of pre-recorded videos, not even the 2-day training that it's based on. That's an important distinction to make. That's what's proven. That's the proprietary process. That's what Mr. Silva found, and that's what's global with respect to that. So in 2007, we had a renaissance, and we just added some new content, moved some things around, still honored Mr. Silva's proprietary process, and rebranded to name Silva Life System and Silva Intuition System. And doing both of them, which is the only way I teach it now, is called the Immersion experience for that. So in day number 2, one of the exercises, we help you to develop a resource state. And I'm going to help you right now. Here's another takeaway for you. A lot of takeaways today for you. I hope that you appreciate that and that you'll, more importantly, use them. And that is, when we're faced with a challenge, a new situation, a new whatever. For example, tonight, I've been presenting to people in small groups. I've been doing virtuals now for the past couple of years. I've been in front of groups of 1,000 people, hundreds of people. It's what I do, and I've been doing for 51 years. And yet, anytime I'm going to do a presentation for a new group, the day before, sometimes days before, it depends, there's some feelings of, I don't know if I should call it apprehension, energy. When I was younger, amateurish, I thought it was stage fright, performance anxiety, it's called. And I realized it's just me getting ready to perform. It's me getting ready to do my thing. It never goes away, my friends. It never, ever goes away. It's there, and I like it because it shows that I care, and I'm in the game, and it kind of fuels me. So breathing, managing the self-talk so that you go and you deliver it. Very important aspect. So you want to have the confidence in yourself that somehow, some way you can figure things out. It's called, by Brendan Bouchard, the confidence-competence loop. Let me say that again. I don't have it written down here for you, sorry. Confidence-competence loop, which means this. You get some skills, competence. That's what a skill is, a competence. That's what I'm talking about. These 4 skills are competencies. As you develop them and work with them and you start mastering. Mastery begins like this. You have immersion, learning, really getting immersed in the knowledge. Then you need repetition to make it permanent. That's the retraining of the brain. You got to fire and wire the brain cells to create new neural patterns. Then the third step is implement. You got to use it in your life, and as you implement it. So immersion, the knowledge, the gathering, repetition, retrain the brain, implement leads to mastery in any topic, to mastery. So this competence loop is when you have a competence, you say, okay, I did it. So you have a little bit more confidence in yourself and gives you courage to do a little bit more, to grow your goal, to advance yourself. And then you get a little more competence, a little more skill, a little more training, and that gives you confidence and courage to do even more. Get the idea? So here's a tool that you can take to the bank, so to speak. Whenever you're faced with a new presentation, a new challenge, a new relationship, any situation, project you're working on, you're going on a job interview, or you're interviewing someone, or you're giving a special present, doesn't matter. Can you look back? You can even do it for your health, by the way. Can you look back in your history into the past and see times similar, not the same, but similar, where you were at your best and you did it? And the answer, I hope, is yes, of course, Ken. That's a resource state, meaning you have evidence. You can actually see that in your past, you have done similar things. You've been there, done that. You applied it and it worked out. It wasn't so bad after all. That's a resource state. So before you do something new for the first time, instead of thinking about what didn't work, what you're worried about, again, praise more. Be happy, be grateful for what you have accomplished in the past, in the not too distant past. And by studying that, whatever you give attention to, you give energy to, whatever you give energy to will grow and multiply. So you're focusing on what worked, and it changes your whole physiology. The way it goes is your thoughts are a trigger, a catalyst to feelings, emotions. And those feelings, emotions cause the brain to release neurochemicals, neuropeptides, and those neuropeptides are the chemical messengers of the body that affect how you feel, how you think, whether you have good memory or not, whether you're at your best, whether you're healing, or et cetera, and it affects the outcome. So it's a very simple thing, resource state, where you're reflecting on a past success that's similar to what you're about to do. Let's do one real quick. Again, in the purpose of demonstrating. Guy, I assure you, I'm glad you're still here. Hang in there to the end. This is important. You got to do the work, for that. And it's important that you understand the work so that you're more likely to do it and you're more conscious doing it, in control. So real simple, eyelids closed, 3 slow deep breaths, and they'll ask you to reflect on a past situation. So think of a challenge you have maybe tomorrow or an upcoming challenge, and see if you can think of something similar that you've handled in the past where you succeeded, and study that. And I'll ask you, what did you feel? What did you think? So we'll do this real simple and short. So again, as long as it's safe, allow your eyelids to close. Nice and easy. Allow your eyelids to close. Allow a very slow, deep breath. Breathe in peace. And as you exhale, release any tension. Keep exhaling. Allow another very slow, deep breath. That's it. Very good. Inhaling slowly. Exhaling out your mouth. Allow another deep breath. Exhaling out your mouth. How good it feels to progressively relax deeper and deeper. Now allow yourself to feel some genuine gratitude, appreciation for someone or something in your life. Briefly, Now imagine as if you're at your ideal place of relaxation. What would it feel like? As if you're there right now. And now, take a moment to reflect on an upcoming challenge. It could be tomorrow or this week or next week, something you're concerned about. And remember as best you can a situation similar to this upcoming new challenge that you experienced in the past that worked out, that you managed, that you succeeded with, that you dealt with. And as you think of that past situation, relive it as best you can. What were the circumstances? What were you saying? How are you carrying yourself? How are you walking, talking? What were you feeling? What did you hear? Maybe you got compliments, some positive feedback. This is evidence. If you've done it before, you can do it again. Keep that in mind. And remember, cancel, negative self-talk. This is your resource state. Now, in a moment, again, I'll count to 3. And at that count, you may open your eyelids, be awake, be alert, feeling fantastic. 1, 2, 3. Be awake, be alert, feeling much better than before. Welcome back. Welcome back. Again, I know that was short. It doesn't take long. You can spend 5 minutes doing that. The transition meditations, 5 minutes during the day, make a big world of difference. And for those of you who may be saying, I know. Yeah, all right, you know, but are you doing it? Are you actually implementing? And if you are, fantastic, help others with that. The key is to do the work. So why do I have you keep closing your eyelids? Because the idea is to quiet the conscious, critical mind that's like a dictator, always telling us what we can't do. That's the whole purpose and point of meditation, by the way, is to get into a state of being where we learn faster, we're open to possibility thinking. We think more clearly, we access more creativity, and we access more intuition. Fact. And that's why you've noticed, now that meditation has been so well documented and cool, notice how many thought leaders, how many business people, how many leading people in all walks of life are coming out of the woodwork talking about what? Their meditation practice that they've employed for so long. It works. It works. Our version is what we call dynamic meditation, which has a lot more to it. So number 4 skill, which we kind of covered, excuse me, just paperclip, is access creativity or intuition. Another way to say this is use more of your mind and use it in a special manner. Not only do we have an objective mode of consciousness, which means we have logic, reasoning, verbal skills, very important. We have an ability to rationalize things, to figure things out through analysis. Although sometimes people go into analysis paralysis. So when you come into a Silva class, be prepared. If you're resonating with this, even in the slightest, you'll love the training. It is not an intellectual process. You've got to internalize it. That's the key. You could read all this in the book. They're home studies. But that's more the intellectual pursuit. Good introductions at best. You've got to integrate it. So taking the act, closing your eyelids, quiets that conscious, and it takes practice, admittedly. And when you succeed, that's when you'll access this well of creativity, of intuition, of ideas. We're all intuitive beings. We all have this. So what I'm asking you is to retrain your brain to expand your awareness and recognize that we all have access. You know, I love it when you read these books, famous intuitives, you know, they become great thought leaders. I'm usually not too impressed. Forgive me. I mean, no disrespect, but I'm not. What I'm impressed with is how are you using it to help the world? Rather than, you know, the entertainment value, which is fun. We all have this ability. Fact, since 1966, this has been the statement. This has been the guiding principle of the Silva Method. And it's what we're all about, training intuition. This is an intuition training in the purest sense of it. Everything we do prior is leading to it, clearing a path to your higher self, clearing a path to these resource states, to your higher self, to your authentic self, to allow this to emerge in a way that you can control it, recognize it, and know the difference between wishful thinking and fear. And that is truly a skill that takes a lot of practice as part of the growth mindset. So we need logic, we need reasoning, but we also have what's called the subjective mode of consciousness. And that simply means our nonverbal skills, our inner knowing, the inner wisdom, what we feel in our heart, what we feel in our gut, however you want to look at it. And you've been there. I would find it hard to believe that you haven't had at least a few situations in your life where you had an impression that didn't make sense logically. Simple one. My sister and I, one of my sisters is only 4 years older than me, we went to lunch and we met. She lives about 90 miles from me here where I am in Connecticut. So we usually meet halfway as best we can. Most of the times it's usually me driving farther. So I just had an impression. I was looking, what's halfway a town off of the highway closest. And I picked the spot this time. It was the first impression. Yeah, this feels right. But actually it was only 40 miles, so it was a little bit farther, let's say 50 for her. Not a big deal. But I have to say, as I was driving to meet her for lunch, it was exit 10 off of the interstate. And as I got to the exit, there was a backup that went for miles. And if I had gone to exit 9 or exit 8, I would have been stuck there for an hour or more. And I looked at them, I didn't know that. I didn't intuit that. But what I'm saying to you is that when you're in balance, when you're in alignment with your higher self, you do, it's like the universe has got your back. You get into a flow state. And that's one of the purposes of our program. One of the things I love to do, people, is to guide them to help me into that flow state. So here's an exercise for you. Ask yourself, if you look at a time when you were very intuitive and you were spot on, whoa, and you look at a time when you thought you were intuitive and you were way off, contrast it. It's good to have a contrast like that. What's the difference that made the difference? In the Silva training, we call it a point of reference. What's the difference that made the difference? And my friends, even with all these decades of practice, it's an ongoing. When you have a growth mindset, you realize you never really reach perfection. You just get better and better. And that's in fact, that's our theme in the program. So if you look at the studies on what is called peak performance, there's a great book on peak performance, and they did studies, very, very thorough studies. And they came up with a term called deliberate practice. And it's the best way to learn something. So if you're learning how to play the guitar and you've got somebody teach you at the piano, deliberate practice would mean you've got somebody who's very skilled, listening, watching you, and giving you immediate feedback. If you go to Toastmasters, you ever go to Toastmasters? Some of you have been Toastmasters, they give you immediate feedback. That's deliberate practice. It's one of the most, if not the most effective way to improve any skill. So you're getting feedback as to how you did, not hours later, certainly not days or months later, but immediate. And my friends, when I read all this research, I said, God, the old man, meaning Jose Silva, bless the guy, was so far ahead of the times. Our whole program is one of deliberate practice. When you're there live, and when I do them virtual, it's live, just like we are now, only I can see you on the screen, and I limit the size. I don't have hundreds of people. Like I said, I limit it to 29 people. So you get my undivided attention. And I'm guiding you every step of the way. Me, yours truly, as your instructor, not a customer service rep or, an Autobot, autoresponder on an email or what have you. That's so important because it helps you. If you read the book, and by the way, if you haven't read the book, I love this program. And I hope one day you do take the training with me or with the instructor of your choice. But if you haven't got this book, even as a grad, it's an excellent book. And it's by Jose Silva. Take a screenshot if you want. And Philip Mealy, M-I-E-L-E. You can't see that probably. Let's see if you can. No, you can't. I'm sorry, because there's a screen. I was playing around. I put this background. I kind of like it. But this book will give you a lot of background, will give you exercises, tips, tools. So many people have read it, told me that it got them started with respect to it. There's a lot of in the back research that we've done in the past, et cetera, with that, but exercises. So one of the things that we do when it comes to intuition is, especially myself, I play a lot of games with intuition. And all throughout, but especially day 3 in the morning, you do an exercise in a breakout room with a partner, and you get immediate feedback. You're using your intuition to come up with information. Then we practice, refine the skill training, and then we practice the end of the night again, another exercise with intuition with me guiding you, and you get immediate feedback. Then on the fourth, then we practice a little more than the 4th day, develop some tools, refine it, and then you have 3 hours of a breakout room where me guiding you, of course, and practicing, where you're sitting with the partner, let's say it's me and you each bring to the situation, to the game, a situation, something you know about that's important to you, but your partner has no clue. And the partner is asked to enter the alpha level that you learned how to do, 3 slow, deep breaths. There's more to it than that. And then to intuit, to come up with information, and you get immediate feedback. And sometimes you blow it, you do. And sometimes you nail it. You're like, oh my God, you're 100%. And we don't do it once or twice, but you play at least minimum of 10, if not 13 games with your intuition, so that you can see, it's not just beginner's luck, or I'm not the first failure. It's repetitive. It repeats. I can do it again. I can sustain it. It's such a confidence builder. It is one of the most dramatic, in my opinion, best changing limiting beliefs exercise, because most people going into it, even people who do it, who claim to be intuitives, are amazed at how everybody can do it, how accurate they are in themselves. It's like turning it on at will. That's a tremendous confidence builder. And it leaves us, when you've got confidence, that's what gets us to think innovatively, and ideas and possibilities. Imagine those possibilities. You make better, wiser decisions. This idea of the best self exercise be much easier to do. Another thing I call is the I wonder game. And the I wonder game has to do, I wonder what my life would be like if I were able to do this. I wonder what my life would be like if my best self emerges in all that I do. And when you think like that, you're more likely to get ideas and innovative ideas and thoughts. It's very cool, guys. Very, very, very cool with that. So to trust your intuition, you want to ask the question, what's the difference that makes the difference? And then, of course, we play the games of it. We want to implement it in our lives, whether it be making investments, making choices, being in that flow state. It's a state that in psychology was identified. I don't know that I ever knew what year, but a term. It's the experience where it feels like the universe has got your back. Doesn't mean you're perfect with that. And you want to use both hemispheres, so to speak. You want to use your objective mode and your subjective mode of consciousness. And therefore you do even better with that. So, wow, the best is yet to come. I hope you find this, valuable, etc., and working with that. And I'd like to just, in closing, just give you a couple of quick tips, about the class, what you can expect. Again, I hope, obviously there's no obligation you being here, but man, oh man, I highly recommend, consider taking this class. It is a big investment of your time and your money, but I invite you to take a look at all you get, the lifetime of free review privileges. You pay a small reviewer seat charge, which is priceless. People come back from 50 years ago, from 40 years ago, from 10 months ago, from last class. And each time you do, it's like reading a good book. It gets a little bit deeper. You see it differently. And you get that repetition. You're part of a community. You make connections with fellow graduates. You learn from each other, help each other. People, especially, they've always been like this. But I've noticed during the pandemic and the virtuals, people have been so gracious and helping each other. And wow, I'm just so honored, by the presence. Plus, I also then, after the class, coach you. So you have complimentary coaching me one-on-one, just me and you over the phone, or we do a Zoom call or a Skype or something like that, to make sure your questions have been answered, to make sure you know how to implement some of the techniques in an area that's very important to you. Then I bring the whole group back and we have a reunion and we spend 90 minutes practicing together, exercises, me building on it. Again, then I also have special recordings of video for it's an hour, it might be 90 minutes, but it's at least an hour of me reviewing key things, teaching some added techniques to build on what you know. And then I also send you an MP3, an audio, reviewing the class, the highlights. So my friend, whatever it is that you study, support is necessary. Personal support is necessary. Follow-up. And I'm proud to say the Silva organization, I've seen so many come and go. It's like they took the money and run. We're still here 55 years plus in the community helping people. So as I tell people, if you choose to take this class with me, you get me with that. You have access to me with questions, etc. for that. The class, again, is personalized and intimate. So I'll be sending out a replay. I'll be sending you some links to that. You can go onto my website, Silva Method of Connecticut, go onto the schedule page. And if you just go down, you get all the information you want. Another great page is the About Silva page. There's some cool videos. I've got a blog page with training videos, lots of free video training that you can access. That at least do that much for yourself as you go with it. So I know I mentioned before possibility of Q&A, but I realize now I'm working on respecting your privacy. People do object themselves on the screen because I'm recording it. I'm going to then put this eventually on my blog page and on my YouTube channel. So that's why I kept it this way. And I want to say, it is my hope, it is my intention that you will do good in your life. You'll make a difference, a huge difference in what you do. Make your contribution. Have fun while you're doing it and thrive. Until the next time, keep getting better and better. And remember to practice with these takeaways. The best is yet to come. Good night.